For the longest time, I was a fan of the Arrowverse, mainly the first 8 years of its existence. Then after Arrow ended, I felt the quality became really bad overall, and now the universe is about to be dead after Flash Season 9. Even before Arrow ended, the universe was already becoming very inconsistent, but I'll talk more about my feelings on the Arrowverse as a whole in another video. As a fan, I always felt there was something missing from the Arrowverse, and then I realized what that was. The Arrowverse was missing Batman. There were a lot of moments where I felt like Batman could have been introduced, but he should have definitely been introduced at least in Crisis on Infinite Earths, and his presence not being there was really noticed. I thought we were going to get some sort of Batman in that crossover, and we kind of did, but he was only there for a few seconds or a few moments, and he was a bad guy version of the character. From what we know about the Arrowverse's Batman, because there are two versions of the character in the Arrowverse that both never been seen. There's one on Earth Prime, and the other one was on Earth 32, but I'm guessing that version of Batman disappeared during Crisis. From what we know about Earth Prime's Batman is, well, for one thing, he does take some inspiration from the Dark Knight trilogy's Batman, which I think is just wrong for many reasons. There were certain things where I felt like they tried to connect to the Dark Knight trilogy, and that they originally were trying to go for like a spiritual sequel to the Dark Knight trilogy with Batwoman. I really got a sense that they were trying to connect to the Dark Knight trilogy, especially during the Elseworlds crossover, where it kind of felt like the Gotham was inspired by the Dark Knight trilogy, and there was also the Bane helmet from the Dark Knight trilogy. I just got a lot of Dark Knight trilogy Christopher Nolan vibes. But yeah, I just don't like the idea of the Dark Knight trilogy's Batman like being connected to Batwoman in any sort of way. We don't know much about Earth 38's Batman, just like little things here and there. It seems like this Batman is still active as a hero. Also, Earth 38's Batman seems to be kind of friendly with Earth 38's Superman. So yeah, we don't know much about Arrowverse's Batman, and we've never seen him on screen. Now, I'm sure people are going to say, oh, I'm glad Arrowverse never did Batman because their writers were going to ruin Batman or something like that. I'm sure there's a good amount of people that are glad that Batman didn't show up in the Arrowverse because I'm sure there's people out there that feel like the Arrowverse's writers were going to ruin Batman. And that could possibly be true. But I think if they really tried to hire good writers for a version of Batman and make sure the Batwoman Gotham Knights writers stay the hell away from Batman if they ever try to adapt him, then I think they could have been able to make a good Batman, and I think they would have been able to do Batman justice. I mean, look at what the Arrowverse has done with Superman. From the first time we saw Superman on Supergirl, I felt they did that character justice in the Arrowverse. Also, the Arrowverse has shown that they are capable of writing a story about a vigilante. I think if the Arrowverse got their hands on Batman, I have a good feeling they would have done the character justice, and I have a gut feeling that they would have made their Batman like Kevin Conroy's Batman from the DCAU. There are many instances where I have felt Batman should have been in the Arrowverse in some way, especially when you have such a great version of Superman. Now, I'm not 100% sure about like the behind the scenes stuff when it comes to like having Batman in the Arrowverse. The Batman stuff we did get in the Arrowverse was references to Batman 89, references to like the 60s Batman, the 60s Batman TV series, and we also had Bruce Wayne Hush in Batwoman Season 2, plus we did see Bruce Wayne in a dream sequence in Batwoman Season 2, and we had Kevin Conroy, the legend himself, playing Bruce Wayne in Crisis on Infinite Earths, which we should have saw a lot more of Kevin Conroy as Batman. It's also a shame that he was just playing an evil version of Batman. I really wish we got to see Kevin Conroy play Bruce Wayne like an older Bruce Wayne, and as a good guy. From what it seems like, the Arrowverse was allowed to mention Batman is a thing, and we did see some versions of Bruce Wayne. Plus, we did get to see quick glimpses of Batman. We didn't get to see his face or anything like that, but we did see like the back of Batman's head. Also, separate from the Arrowverse, we had Bruce Wayne in both Gotham and Titans. In Gotham, we did actually get to see Bruce Wayne become Batman at the end of the series. If Warner Brothers didn't allow the Arrowverse to use Batman in any way, then that would have been pretty weird in my opinion. Like, Warner Brothers allows the Arrowverse to use Superman, and even allows Superman to have his own series. But they won't allow any kind of Bruce Wayne as Batman in the suit? Like, what's the logic there? There's no way to really know what was allowed and what wasn't, so all we can do is really just speculate. I do know when I look at this picture of the Arrowverse's Justice League, or whatever the hell they are called, it just looks so awkward, especially with Superman there. Like, you have Superman, who's just like one of the most popular characters of all time, with a bunch of Z and B-list superheroes. I honestly think the roster for the Arrowverse's Justice League should have been Martian Manhunter, Flash, White Canary, Black Lightning, Spartan, The Ray that was introduced during Crisis on Earth X, who also had his own TV series called Freedom Fighters, Superman, Supergirl, Batman, and Wonder Woman. Plus Green Arrow if or when he is able to come back for an occasional crossover. Also, yes, I did mention Wonder Woman too. Look, I think if you introduce Superman, then you might as well have the entire Trinity. I know we already have a Trinity in the Arrowverse with Green Arrow, Flash, and Supergirl, but that doesn't mean there couldn't have been two Trinities. The Arrowverse would obviously focus just on the main Trinity, which is the Green Arrow, Flash, and Supergirl. I also think the other Trinity, which is Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, should exist, especially on the main Earth of the DC universe. Now, for those that say Arrow was basically Batman, but they couldn't use Batman, so they just turned Green Arrow into Batman, so there's no need for a Batman in the Arrowverse, what I have to say is I don't think that is correct, and I do not think Arrow is Batman 2.0 or whatever the hell you want to call it. Maybe the creators of Arrow originally wanted to make a Batman show, but Arrow, the character himself, is nothing like Batman. Sure, they have some similarities, like they are both millionaire vigilantes who want to fix their cities, and they do have some of the same villains. And to also be fair, this version of Arrow is nothing like Green Arrow from the comics, at least like the main Green Arrow that we all think of. But Arrow is certainly not Batman. Arrow, if anything, should be compared to the Punisher, but even then, I wouldn't even compare Arrow to that character either. The Arrow versus Green Arrow might share some similarities to other characters, but Arrow is its own thing, and he has his own unique character arc, which is different from any kind of hero that I have ever seen. The arc of Oliver Queen on Arrow is someone who starts off as an anti-hero who kills corrupt people on his father's list, to then Oliver trying to stop killing people and starts to try to become a hero. Then Oliver goes through this journey of like trying to stop killing altogether and try to completely change for the better, and then Oliver eventually does become a hero. Then there's also other things he goes through, like he becomes mayor. Then later on he gets his identity exposed, and Oliver has to learn how to be a hero with the whole world knowing his identity, to then in the end sacrificing himself for the entire multiverse, and then he creates a whole new one. That's not the character of Batman, and it's nothing like Batman, especially with the fact that Oliver starts off killing people. If that was the story for a Batman show, that Batman show would have been awful. What really makes Batman different and stand off on his own is he does not kill. And even in the interpretations when he does, it's nowhere near the way Arrow does it. Batman is also a great detective, and many call him the world's greatest detective, which Arrow is not a detective at all. Arrow is similar to Batman in some ways, but they are not the same, and Arrow isn't a Batman 2.0 or anything like that. And Arrow is not a replacement for Batman. I think if Batman met Arrow, it would have been a cool interaction and team up between the two similar but different characters. The Arrowverse needed a proper Batman, like how the Arrowverse has a proper Superman. The hero that would have been the most intelligent person in a room and has a strict set of rules that he would never cross. The interactions that Batman would have had with the other Arrowverse heroes could have been really cool. I'm not saying he should have had his own TV series like Superman, but he should have at least been in the Arrowverse in some way. Like, I really would have liked to see him appear in the crossovers, especially Crisis on Infinite Earths. If the Arrowverse really wasn't allowed to have Batman at all, which I don't think is really true because we did see like versions of Bruce Wayne, it seems like they were able to get Batman in there in some sort of way. But if they really weren't allowed, then I really think they should have just stayed away from Gotham. They should have never done Batwoman unless they had a way of bringing in Batman in the show, like how Supergirl had Superman. A Batman that just abandons Gotham because he killed the Joker and decides to just let Gotham get worse and just give up on the city. It's just disrespectful to the character in my opinion. I probably would have been cool with it if it was like an alternate universe take on Batman or some sort of other Earth or whatever, something like that. And also it might be interesting to explore that unique take of Batman, but this is the main universe, Earth Prime. I'm sorry, but it doesn't work for me, especially when you have a normal, non-unique take on Superman. They could have said Gotham City was its own thing where it's protected by this myth that is known as Batman and no one goes there because of whatever reasons. Something else they could have done instead was have Batman be an older hero, like Batman is long gone, and like by the time of Arrow and Flash, Batman is just long gone and was a hero to Gotham City sometime in the past. Or they could have added Batman in the universe through books and other media, like how Smallville added Batman to its universe through its season 11 comics. I don't like the fact that there's no Batman on Earth Prime at all, and what they did to the character off screen is just not right. But anyway, since the Arrowverse is pretty much dead, there's nothing we can do about Batman not being part of this universe. All we can do now is imagine what could have been. What can happen now though, and fingers crossed this does happen, is Batman could make an appearance on Superman and Lois in some sort of way. Superman and Lois is not a part of the Arrowverse, so who knows the heroes that live in this new universe. Hopefully one of those heroes is Batman, because I would love to see Tyler Hoechlin's Superman interacting with a version of Batman. In the end, I feel the Arrowverse needed Batman, and sadly he was not a part of the universe.